My name is Sarah, and I've always been sensitive to the paranormal. Growing up in a small town in Ontario, Canada, I often heard stories about haunted places and restless spirits. But it wasn't until my family moved into an old farmhouse on the outskirts of town that I experienced the supernatural firsthand.
I was 10 years old when we moved into the farmhouse. It was a beautiful, sprawling property with acres of fields and a dense forest at the edge. The house itself was charming, with its creaky wooden floors and antique furniture. But from the moment we moved in, I felt a strange presence in the house. It started with small things, doors creaking open on their own, cold drafts that seemed to come from nowhere, and the feeling of being watched. My parents dismissed it as the house settling, but I knew there was something more. I began to have strange dreams of a little girl with curly blonde hair and sad blue eyes. In my dreams, the girl would stand at the foot of my bed, staring at me with a mournful expression. She never spoke, but I could sense her sadness and longing. I would wake up feeling unsettled, unable to shake the image of her from my mind. One day, while exploring the attic, I found an old dusty photo album. Flipping through the pages, I came across a photograph of the girl from my dreams. Her name was written in elegant script beneath the photo: Emily. Curiosity got the better of me, and I asked my parents about Emily. They exchanged worried glances before telling me that Emily had lived in the house many years ago. She had died tragically at the age of 10, the same age I was when we moved in. My parents had tried to keep the story from me, not wanting to scare me. But now it all made sense. That night I decided to try and communicate with Emily. I sat on my bed, closed my eyes, and spoke softly into the darkness. Emily, if you're here, I want to help you. Please tell me what you need. For a moment there's aussi wasa ina shabertashir entry wanker sal sur kan of Huron, Sandy sea lanes. Then Cyan. I felt a cold breeze brush past me, and the room grew unnaturally cold. I opened my eyes to see Emily standing at the foot of my bed, just as she had in my dreams. This time she spoke. Sarah, I need your help, she said in a soft, trembling voice. I'm trapped here and I can't find peace. Please help me find my parents. My heart ached for her and I nodded. I'll help you, Emily. Tell me what I need to do. Emily led me to the attic, where we found an old chest filled with her belongings. Among them was a faded letter from her parents, expressing their love for her and their hope that they would be reunited in the afterlife. As I read the letter aloud, Emily's spirit began to fade, and a look of peace washed over her face. Thank you, Sarah, she whispered. I can rest now. With that, Emily disappeared, and the room returned to normal. The coldness lifted, and I felt a sense of relief and closure. From that day on, the strange occurrences in the house stopped, and I knew that Emily had finally found peace. Years later, I still think about Emily and the bond we formed. Her spirit taught me the importance of compassion and the power of love. The ghost of Emily may have been a tragic presence, but in helping her I found a sense of purpose and understanding that has stayed with me ever since. But that was not the end of my encounters with the supernatural. As I grew older, my sensitivity to spirits seemed to intensify. I began to sense other presences, both benign and malevolent, and I realized that my experience with Emily had only been the beginning. One particularly unsettling encounter occurred when I was in college. I had rented an old apartment in downtown Toronto, a building with a storied past. From the moment I moved in, I felt a strange energy in the apartment. It was subtle at first, a feeling of being watched, an occasional cold draft, but it soon escalated. One night, as I was studying for an exam, I heard a soft knock on my bedroom door. I lived alone, and the sound sent a shiver down my spine. I opened the door, but no one was there. I shrugged it off, thinking it was just the building settling. But then the knocking continued night after night. Sometimes it was on the walls, other times on the windows. I started to feel a presence in the apartment, a malevolent energy that seemed to grow stronger with each passing day. Desperate for answers, I reached out to a local paranormal investigator named Mark. He agreed to come to my apartment and conduct an investigation. As we set up his equipment, the atmosphere grew tense and the temperature dropped. Mark began asking questions, trying to communicate with the spirit. "Who are you? Why are you here?" he asked, his voice steady and calm. For a moment there was silence, then the EMF meter began to spike, and we heard a faint whisper. "Get out," the voice said, barely audible. Mark's expression grew serious. "We need to leave, Sarah. This spirit is not friendly." We packed up his equipment and left the apartment, and I spent the night at a friend's place. The next day I decided to move out. The experience had left me shaken, and I knew I couldn't stay in the apartment any longer.
Looking back, I realized that my sensitivity to spirits is both a gift and a curse. It has allowed me to help those like Emily, but it has also exposed me to the darker side of the supernatural. Despite the fear and uncertainty, I'm grateful for the experiences, for they have taught me valuable lessons about empathy, courage, and the mysteries of the unseen world.